What is the name of the following compound? Na2Cr2O7. So first I'm going to identify my cation. My cation is Na, or sodium. It is in the first two columns, which makes that a representative metal, so I do not need to find the oxidative state, so I can just say sodium. And identify my cation, my anion, which is Cr2O7. That is multiple atoms, which would make that a polyatomic ion, so I would look on the inside of my periodic table to my polyatomic ion list sheet, and I'm going to find Cr2O7. Cr2O7 has the name dichromate. Polyatomic ions do not change their suffix. So the name of Na2Cr2O7 is sodium dichromate. What is the name of the following compound? BeCO3. First, I'll identify my cation. My cation is Be. It is beryllium, and it is in the first two columns, which makes that a representative metal, so I do not need to state the oxidative state, so I can just write beryllium. And then I need to identify my anion. My anion is CO3, that is multiple atoms, which would make that a polyatomic ion, so I need to look on the inside of my periodic table and find CO3. CO3 is carbonate, and polyatomic ions do not need to change their suffix, so the name of this compound would just be beryllium carbonate. What is the name of the following compound? Fe3PO42. First, I need to identify my cation. My cation is Fe. It is iron, and it is in the transition metal block, which does mean, and it is not part of Katzenagel, which does mean that I need to find out what my oxidative state is, so I'll give myself parentheses to remind myself that I need to do math. Then I'm going to look at my anion. My anion is PO4, which is multiple atoms, so that's a polyatomic ion. So I'm going to find my polyatomic ion inside of my periodic table. PO4 is phosphate, and polyatomics do not change their name. So this is iron something, phosphate, and now I need to figure out what that something is. I need to find the oxidative state. So I will do my anion versus cation math. My anion is phosphate, and the subscript for phosphate is the multiplier, so that would be 2. The 4 is definitionally who phosphate is. The 2 is how many phosphates I have, which is what I'm asking about for that subscript. So I have 2 phosphates. Phosphate definitionally has a charge of -3. So 2 times -3 is -6. Equal and opposite of -6 is +6. There are 3 irons. 3 times 1 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. Arabic to Roman. Iron 2 phosphate is the name of that compound. What is the name of the following compound? TiOH4. So first I'm going to identify my cation. My cation is Ti, which is titanium, which is in that transition metal block, and it is not part of Katzenagel. So that does mean that I need the oxidative state. And I'll remind myself of that by giving myself a set of parentheses. And then identifying my anion, which is OH, that is multiple elements, so that means it's a polyatomic ion. So I'm going to look on the inside of my periodic table to find OH, and that is hydroxide. And I need to figure out what my oxidative state is for titanium, so I'm going to do my anion versus cation math. Titanium subscript, starting with my anion, hydroxide subscript is 4. I'm going to look at my multiplier because that's what I'm asking for with subscript. How many of that particular ion do I have? I have 4 hydroxides. Hydroxide definitionally will have a charge of -1. So 4 times -1 is -4. Equal and opposite of -4 is +4. I only have 1 titanium. 1 times what is 4? 1 times 4 is 4. Arabic to Roman. Titanium 4 hydroxide is the name of my compound. What is the name of the following compound? AgNO3. So first I'm going to identify my cation ion. My cation ion is Ag, or silver, and it is part of cadmium, so that means that I get to treat it as if it was a representative metal, so I do not need to find the charge, so it'll just be silver. Then I'm going to identify my anion, and that is going to be NO3, which is a polyatomic, so I'll look on the inside of my periodic table to find it. NO3, that is nitrate. So the name of my compound is silver nitrate. What is the name of the following compound? ZnSO4. First, I'll identify my cation ion. My cation ion is Zn, or zinc. Zinc is part of cadmium, which means I get to treat it as a representative metal, so I do not need to find the oxidative state, so I can just say zinc. And then I need to identify my anion. My anion is SO4. SO4 is going to be sulfate. So I just need to put sulfate. And since it's a polyatomic, I don't need to change its suffix. It gets to keep its name. What is the subscript for the polyatomic ion in the following compound? BeC2H3O2 2. So when I'm asking for the subscript on my polyatomic, I'm looking for how many of that polyatomic ion I have, and that is going to be whatever is on the outside of the parentheses. So I have 2 of the acetate ion.